Hi guys, it's Vol here. This weekend I'm going to be going to a tournament for War Machine and Hordes called Rallypoint. It will be in Hamilton, and last year I also attended Rallypoint in 2011 with Circle Orboros, and I think Rallypoint is the best tournament in New Zealand to go with Circle because it's a 50-point tournament, 2-list, 10-point reinforcements, and I'm of the opinion that Circle are much easier to achieve a lot of potential with at 50 points. If you get any lower than that, they have to start sort of skimping on things which they really require for some of the synergies to work and for some of the lists to work. Last year I was very proud of my result. I took Chromac and Mosar, and I came 5th, and at that point I was still relatively new to the game. It was my, I think, second major tournament. Here's a photo right here of last year's attempt with Chromac up against Crix in my first game. Took a very beast-heavy Chromac list, as you can see, and Mosar fairly similar. This year I'm going to be taking Circle again, and it's been a while since I went to a tournament with Circle. The last time I think was Equinox, and I didn't place very well. I did 35 points with Chromac and Cassius. But Rallypoint 2012 is coming up this weekend. I'm just going to post this video, pre-tournament rather than retrospectively, so I'm not too sure what will actually happen, but I'm very confident that I'll do well. So let's have a look at the next photo, which is the Woldwrath, which is coming out now, and I ordered mine the other week and it arrived a few days ago, and I've just been spending the last few days painting it. Obviously this is not the picture of my Woldwrath, I'll show you that in a few moments, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about the Woldwrath in general. A lot of guys on the internet are really sort of negative about the Gargantuans, that they are overcosted, that are quite difficult to get them to work. Some people are a bit iffy about the Huge-based models playing a big role in tournaments. I took the Conquest to Call to Arms, which was the biggest tournament in New Zealand for War Machine Hordes, about 42, 43 players. Managed to come first, even though I had the Conquest on both lists, and it was an escalation from 33 to 42. So go check out that on my YouTube page, so you can just do a search for it for Call to Arms if you like. You can even search my previous Circle tournaments too by looking up Equinox and Rallypoint. But the Woldwrath is something I'm going to be taking in both of my lists to this 50-point tournament Rallypoint, because I think that if you are a good player, if you can make it work not just in a list but also on the tabletop, you can still do well. And I've been practicing with it, I've been thinking about it and studying it and writing lists for it for a long time now, and I think I've got 2 nailed. The thing you've got to realise about the game War Machine and Hordes is that about 95% of the models and units available to you are overcosted until you make use of the special ability on the back of their card. Some units are easier to do that than others. For example, you have Doomreavers, which have an ability called Berserk. Well, if they didn't have Berserk, they wouldn't be such a good unit because they're very vulnerable to light shooting. If they come up against some shooting attacks and they're reduced to 1 or 2 guys, suddenly they're only going to get that one powerful attack. But with Berserk, if you've got 1 or 2 guys left, if you can find an opportunity to charge them into clusters of troops, you can still wipe out quite a lot of guys. That's an example. With Circle as a faction, one of the reasons why they're harder for new players to do well with and shunned by a lot of people as not a very good faction is that their units and troops are harder to find applications for their abilities for it a lot of the time. But if you can do it, they have a lot of potential, and in some cases more so than the other factions. And the Woldwrath is a good example of that. Even though it's 20 points, and you can't cast any of your own spells in it, it looks a bit awkward, there are some interesting applications for it. And I'll talk about them more in my battle reports, but a couple of big things I want you guys to bear in mind. Once that thing hits, it knocks you down, and it's Fury 4, and it's power 19, so it's basically doing the job of a feral Warpwolf with Primal on it. Every turn if you need it to. Secondly, it can tank a lot of damage at armor 20, so if you can goad 1 or 2 warbeasts or jacks to charge it and survive, you can kill it just like any other jack, but you can heal it with stones. You don't need to have that Arcanist or whatever floating around, and if you're running Baldur, he can heal it as well, so that's a plus. The lightning gun, if you're very clever with it, can put some AoEs down on your own guys like Blackclads or Druids, for stopping units without reach from charging or without taking a power 10. But you can also position one of your guys to, the Worldwrath to shoot at your own model and have the electric bounce to an enemy solo or something like that and take a power 10. So just a couple of the applications of it. So which casters did I decide to run with this guy? Well, here are the casters that are good with it, and here are the casters that are bad with it. Both versions of Baldur, fine. Morvahna, yep. Cassius, yes. Mosai, yes. Either version of Kaya, no. Chromac, can't run it either. Grail, don't really think he can do it either. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about why those are my picks for casters, but you'll have to bear with me and trust me on this one. So next photo, Epic Baldur here from the website. I am going to be running Epic Baldur because previously my 50-point Epic Baldur list featured Getorix and the Celestial Fulcrum, which add up to 20 points. What I've done is I've dropped those two models, which is, they're probably better than the Woldwrath, those two combined, but I did have my heart set on running the Woldwrath, so that's what they've come to. And incidentally, that actually turns the list into a Tier 3 list. You guys can actually open the video description and check it out. That is a Tier 3 Epic Baldur list, and some interesting points about it. 10 points reinforcements. I've decided to stay in tier, even though to get out of tier, I'm only swapping a couple of Gallows Groves. But I've brought in second unit of Druids, which is something I'd almost never do normally. But coming in from that flank, if Druid's Wrath Animus is up on the Worldwrath, those guys can actually drag a Jack all the way to the corner of the table with the help of a second unit of Druids. So that can be massive. Also, the Druids are very good at holding a point or whatever with their clouds, counter magic, getting in the way, so I thought that was awesome. One thing that let me down though is that the Woldwrath is a huge based war beast, so it does not gain the +2 speed from Baldur's tier 3 once you add Megalith to your force, which only affects heavy war beasts. So I'm not really gaining much from keeping this list in tier. Half of me felt like I should probably change it and just put some things which are more useful than the Gallows Groves, or come up with an interesting new reinforcement choice, maybe a beast or something like that. But I just couldn't manage it, so I couldn't manage to bring myself to do that. So that's the list. This is a good list against Jack Heavy, Menoth, Signar. There's a lot of applications for it, and I've been practicing a lot of Baldur. In all of my practice games, Baldur has been doing extremely well. He's actually one of my new favourite warlocks for Circle, because he's easy to use, and he gets even better once you actually put a lot of application into him. Now, my second warlock, very important to have a backup warlock here, because there's lots that Epic Baldur can't deal with, like, for example, I'm not too happy with him against Legion, lots of trolls with Fan Blades, other Circle lists in some cases, Cricks, Bane Thrall spam, stuff like that. So second list was going to be P. Kruger with just two, several, I think 4 heavy war beasts and some Bloodweavers, and that's about it. But once the Woldwrath came out and I realised I was going to have him in time for the tournament, and bringing up the next photo here, I decided to go with Morvahna. And let's have a talk about why I went with Morvahna. With Morvahna, if she has the Woldwrath in her list, you don't need a Gorax, and I think that's a very important thing about the Woldwrath, that you don't have to have this 4-point beast taking out, part of your list, and that allows you to afford more stuff. Secondly, Morvahna has Harvest, so she can actually top herself up on Fury without needing beasts to do it for her. So if you play very carefully, and sometimes cutting yourself for extra Fury and healing that back up with Restoration, you can actually get away with just having a single beast, and that's what I've done on my list. I've taken just the Woldwrath, and in 2 practice games it's worked out perfectly fine, and that allows me to spend everything else on wads and wads of really good stuff. Now, normally I wouldn't take Morvahna to a tournament because she gets shut down by Menoth or Iris, for example. Now, if I'm facing Menoth, Baldur is great for that matchup. If I'm facing, say, Signar or Kador with Epic Iris or Retribution, for example, I can either run Baldur or I can just take her anyway, and she's got so much good stuff on the list, synergizing with Harvest, the Gallows Groves, and the Animus and the Woldwrath with the Blackclads. I really, really, really love this Morvahna list, and I think that it will do pretty well. So that's my reasoning for Morvahna. I'll talk about it more during the battle reports, but that is essentially it. So let's move on to the real stuff. This next picture is of my Worldwrath, and I was very pleased with how he turned out. You guys will notice several distinctive features about my one. I've actually lopped off the rocket launcher shoulder pads, which I didn't really like, and glued on 2 of the plastic Citadel Miniatures trees from Games Workshop. And the idea is that his shoulders are just these big pot plants with these massive trees sort of just sprouting out of them, like the Wolds create life, just like Megalith would with his undergrowth, or Baldur does with rapid growth. So it was actually it's a bit of an off-the-wall sort of conversion, but I turned out to be really happy with it. Secondly, I've actually wired a big string of wire to his chin and actually turned that into a beard with all the sort of static grass and flock and undergrowth bits and pieces. So that's a bit of a funky one. Maybe not everybody's cup of tea. I ended up thinking it was kind of cute. Thirdly, his base, I've got a little trench in the middle of it which I'm meant to be filling with artificial water, but I haven't actually tried that yet, so I'm going to have to leave it for a bit. I was actually going to mount a Tharn Ravager Shaman onto his hand. As you can see, his left hand is spun around. I just cut that out and spun it around, so he's actually holding his palm upwards, and I was going to have a model standing on it, but after I did this conversion, I didn't think if the model really added anything to the piece. It would have looked too distracting. So very cool stuff. If you guys can look carefully, you can actually see my Morvahna Tier 4 list in the background as well, which I'm not taking to this one. The next photo, just a bit more of a close-up. You can see the paint scheme is just spray paint with a very dark green, followed by, I think it's a Lauren Forest from Citadel colour range, and then a mix of that's a Forest Lauren with the what's the new colour called? Dawnstone. It used to be Codex Grey, and a bit of white, and then just slowly highlighting it up with white. Gems turned out really good as well. Next image, just coming close to the face, you can actually see that the gems, obviously the photograph helps to blend it together and makes it shine a bit more, but in person they don't quite look as immaculate. That turned out to be quite a lucky photo actually. But that's his face. Some people are calling him Optimus Prime because of his head. It does kind of look like Optimus, I guess. Next image, just a different angle of him. You can see, I think the colours of this piece worked really quite well, and one thing that you might notice is that the area around his head is highlighted a bit more, just to draw you into his head a bit more. I felt that after I'd added the yellow flowers to parts of the piece, they were capturing too much of the attention. Your eye naturally went to them, but after I highlighted the head area up a lot more, that's where your eyes go to first, and that really works very well. Next image, here's his back. Very, very detailed miniature. I don't have too much more to go with painting this guy, but I always keep finding small details on him that I haven't painted yet because it's just such a massive piece in general. And next photo, just a bit of a look at how the rest of my army's going. I've got Baldur, who is looking like Father Christmas with his white beard, and Morvahna, who is not actually the PP model. I hate the PP model, to be honest. This is one from Mike McVeigh Studios. Hopefully get a better picture of her for you guys a bit later. And some of the rest of my army. I've got the Gatorman Witch Doctor, which I think is a really awesome choice for Morvahna's list, just making the unit of regrowth trackers tough. It's just amazing, and of course undead, so they don't fail terror checks. Is just brilliant. It's a must-have in any Morvahna list. Next image, a few Bloodweavers here. Really worried about stuff like Arcane Shield, Crippling Grasp, and so on. So it's great to have Dispel there. Even like Parasite and the Skinwalkers, I can get rid of that with the Dispel from the Bloodweavers. Next image, you can see a bit of a zoom out here. I've got some Gallows Groves up and running, which I'm really liking, by the way. They actually shut down the Mountain King's healing too, which is quite cool. I've actually played a few games with the Mountain King. I've been painting one up for my friend, and I ran him 3 games with Epic Doomshaper, just with the normal stuff you take, Janessa, Earthborn, Axa, stuff like that, Epic Doomshaper, and he's been kicking ass. A lot of people don't like the Mountain King, but you do have to play him well, just like every other model in this game. So more to come with that. I'll hopefully take some photos of him this weekend. In the background of this, you can actually see a couple of large base models there. They're actually the lopped off shoulder pads, which previously were on the Worldwrath. I've actually turned them into objective markers, which is actually quite cool. So that's cool. And the Skinwalkers in the background, the plastic ones. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed my lists. You'll hear a bit more about how the lists work over the course of the weekend, but yeah, just wanted to get you in on this commentary and tell you what I'm up to with Circle, and really looking forward to Rallypoint this weekend. I've been very very excited about it for many weeks now, and practicing for it very hard too. So hopefully that pays off. See you guys then.